Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the first reading for the Radical Solidarity Summit, the day one, titled Solidarity, Historic Contexts and Transnational Struggle. I'll be reading an excerpt from Nigerian author Ben Okri's novel titled Infinite Riches. It was published in 1998, part of the Famished Road trilogy. In this part of the story, we continue to explore the life of Azaro, an Abuku or spirit child living in the perplexing world of the living in an unspecified African village. His father has been imprisoned for a crime he did not commit, while his mother battles for his justice. And Azaro's quest for his identity reflects African people's journey to reclaim their heritage and history and critically rethink their identities. The title of the chapter is The Battle of Rewritten Histories. I didn't move from bed the rest of that day, but the whole world was in the room. All the events of our history were alive in the little space, like ghost dramas. Is history the livid hallucinations of time? I slept through the sleepages of many events, racking and tossing me on the bed. The ghosts of historical consequences wandered through our room, looking for their destinations. The rumors of violence and the faintest echoes of gunshots reverberated through the floor. Continental liberation wars were being fought in 9 places on the ceiling. And the Governor General, an Englishman with a polyp on the end of his nose, had just completed the destruction of all the incriminating documents relating to the soon-to-be-created nation. When he had finished, he proceeded, in his sloping calligraphic hand, to rewrite our history. He rewrote the space in which I slept. He rewrote the long silences of the country, which were really passionate dreams. He rewrote the seas and the wind, the atmospheric conditions and the humidity. He rewrote the seasons and made them limited and unlyrical. He reinvented the geography of the nation and the whole continent. He redrew the continent's size on the world map, made it smaller, made it odder. He changed the name of places which were older than the places themselves. He redesigned the phonality of African names, softened the consonants, flattened the vowels. In altering the sound of the names, he altered their meaning and affected the destiny of the named. He rewrote the names of fishes and bees, of trees and flowers, of mountains and herbs, of rocks and plants. He rewrote the names of our food, our clothes, our abodes, our rivers. The renamed things lost their ancient weight in our memory. They became lighter and stranger. They became divorced from their old selves. They lost their significance and sometimes their shape. And they suddenly seemed new to us who had given them the names by which they responded to our touch. Caught in his passionate objectivity, the Governor General made our history begin with the arrival of his people on our shores. Sweating into his loose cotton shirt, he turned himself into a fairy tale figure, awakening Stone Age man from an immemorial slumber, a slumber that began shortly after the creation of the human race. The Governor General, in his rewriting of our history, deprived us of language, of poetry, of stories, of architecture, of civic laws, of social organization, of art, science, mathematics, sculpture, abstract conception, and philosophy. He deprived us of history, of civilization, and unintentionally deprived us of humanity too. Unwittingly, he effaced us from creation, and then, somewhat startled at where his rigorous logic had led him, he performed the dexterous feat of investing us with life. The moment his ancestors set eyes on us, we slept through the great roll of historical time. With a stroke of his splendid calligraphic style, he invested us with life. History came to us with his Promethean touch, as his pen touched our Adamic souls. And we awoke into history, stunned and ungrateful, as he renamed our meadows and valleys and forgot the slave trade. He rewrote our night spaces, made them weirder, peopled them with monsters and stupid fetishes. He rewrote our daylight, made it cruder, made things manifest in the light of dawn seem unfinished and even unbegun. In the process, he laid before our eyes the written evidence of our recent awakening into civilization. We who bear within us ancient dreams and future revelations. We who began the naming of the world and all its gods. We who fertilized the banks of the Nile with the sacred word which sprouted the earliest and most mysterious civilization, the forgotten foundation of civilizations. We whose secret ways have entered into the bloodstream of world wonders silently. And as the Governor General rewrote time, made his longer and ours shorter, as he rendered invisible our accomplishments, wiped out traces of our ancient civilizations, rewrote the meaning and beauty of our customs, as he abolished the world of spirits, diminished our feats of memory, turned our philosophies into crude superstitions, our rituals into childish dances, our religions into animal worship and animistic trances, our art into crude relics and primitive forms, our drums into instruments of jest, our music into simplistic babbling. As he rewrote our past, he altered our present. And the alteration created new spirits which fed the bottomless appetite of the great god of chaos. As he sat there in his large office with a picture of the queen just above his head, as he rewrote destiny, made his brighter, made ours dimmer, the old woman in the forest pressed on with the weaving of our true secret history. A history that was frightening and wondrous, bloody and comic, labyrinthine, circular, always turning, always surprising, with events becoming signs and signs becoming reality. The old woman in the forest coded the secrets of plants and their infinite curative properties. She coded the language of spirits, the epic speech of trees, the convergent lines of vital earth forces, the healing uses of thunder, the magic properties of lightning, the interpenetrations of the human and spirit world, the delicate balances of unseen powers, and the ancient formula for glimpsing the unalterable movement of fate. She even coded fragments of the great jigsaw that the Creator spread all over the diverse people on earth, hinting that no one, race, or people can have the ultimate possibilities of the human genius alone. With her magic, she suggested that it's only when all peoples meet and know and love one another that we begin to get an inkling of this awesome picture or jigsaw or majestic power. These fragments of the grand picture of humanity were the most haunting and beautiful parts of her weaving that day. The old woman kept the deciphering of the code to herself, for she had entirely forgotten that during 50 years in the forest, she had invented a private language. And with this language of signs and symbols, of angles and colors and forms, she recorded legends and moments of history lost to her people. She recorded bawdy ancient jokes, drinking songs, riddles that had never been solved, mathematical discoveries extrapolated from magic squares, geometric forms in music and art, harmonic alignments between architecture and the greatest stars. She recorded wonderful forms of divination by numbers and cowries and signs, numerological systems for summoning the gods, and humorous permutations of children's games beloved of kings. The old woman in the forest recorded advancements in music, a delightful contrapuntal bar and tone system, music derived from the harmonies of streams and wind and the earth's heartbeat and the flights of birds. She recorded secret ways of extending life, the meaning of bird cries, the language of animals, ways of seeing a unicorn in broad daylight, ways of speaking to the spirits of ancestors or parents or children or friends who have passed beyond the enchanted mirror of death. She recorded the mystic significance of the fragrance of flowers, the songs of the wind, the songs of history, the music of the dead, the melodies of the interspaces, and ways of making love to produce twins or triplets or a particular gender. She recorded snatches of conversations heard on the wind, conversations that had floated across from other continents. She recorded oral poems of famous bards whose words had entered communal memory, whose names had been forgotten because of their great fame, but whose true names lay coded in their songs. She recorded impromptu poems with measured stresses composed by women on their journey between two kings. She recorded stories and myths and philosophical disquisitions on the relativities of African time and space, how time is both finite and infinite, how time curves, how time also dances, how space is negative, how space is always populated, how space is the home of invisible beings and the true destination of death. She recorded the theories of art and sculpture, the secret methods of bronze casting, the elaborate geometry and symbolism of the elongation of human features, discovered by an ancient sculptor who was lost in the forest for 7 days and who was overwhelmed with visions in which he saw the elongated spirit of his father, sitting in a golden sphere. She recorded items of meteorological discoveries, calculation of distances to stars as yet unnoticed, and astronomical incidents. The date of a stellar explosion, a supernova bursting over the intense dream of the continent, heralding, according to a king's soothsayer, a brief nightmare of colonization and an eventual surprising renaissance. Thank you. I'd like to end this evening's program by giving special thanks to Achille Mbembe, Albie Sachs, and Harun Gansali for their participation today in the panel discussion and the performance. I'd also like to thank you, the audience, for joining us this evening. Please make sure to join us tomorrow for our second day titled under the theme Printed Matter, Text, Language, and Transmission of Knowledge. We'll begin promptly at 4 p.m. South African Standard Time for our first panel within this theme titled Over the Seas and Into the Web, Critical Voices and Literary Resistance from the Online Public Sphere, moderated by myself, and along with the panelists Bukola Oyebode, Awa Konate, Nontsikelelo Mutiti, and Remy Kamiche. Thereafter, we'll have a film screening of Seismography of Struggle Towards a Global History of Critical and Cultural Journals by Zahia Ramani. Then afterwards, we'll host another panel titled Decolonizing Text, Future Possibilities, moderated by Thandazani Hlakama, our assistant curator, along with the panelists Nadia Davids, Frida Ikoto, and Francois Verger. Please remember to continue discussions and further engagement on social media and to tag us at Zeitz MOCAA. I hope you truly enjoyed the first day and we look forward to host you for the rest of the week. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your evening.